Alrighty, so officially, the final match week before we head to Decision Day 2025 of the regular season is now over as we saw these 5 games that happened during international break, and we now know certain storylines and scenario heading into Decision Day, and one of the biggest storyline heading into Decision Day is that there are going to be a playoff race. In terms of the Western Conference, there's going to be 4 teams that's going to be vying for those 2 play-in position, and yes, that also includes the San Jose Earthquakes, who are somehow in some way still alive for playoffs. I mean, I don't know how this is still possible. It just feels like, in some way, probably the MLS gods or even the soccer gods probably have heard my rant from the last review about the Quakes, and really the last couple of games talk about how the Quakes are definitely not making the playoffs, and they're basically hearing that and just making me suffer even more the fact that yeah they're gonna somehow still stay alive in the playoff race, or the fact that by the magic of bullshit somehow in some way the Quakes will get themselves into the playoffs and back themselves in the playoffs because of incredible help. And that, as I'll talk about in the preview of the Western Conference Decision Day game, there is a high possibility that that reality could come true. But that being said, let us begin by talking about the first game, and let's actually kind of get the game that is kind of irrelevant when it comes to some of these decision day scenario and some of the big storyline that's going to be happening in decision day, and that of course is Miami versus Atlanta. And again, there's no offense in terms of this game. It doesn't really change much heading into decision day. Miami probably is going to finish third in the standings. That is, but yeah, they get the 4-0 win in this one against Atlanta. It was kind of almost like a training session for them as well. And this was also a Jordi Alba farewell game as well. Technically, he still are going to be playing in the playoffs, so it's kind of weird to see him saying goodbye playing in his final home regular season league game. But I can understand that now. Of course, they want to do it in case if God forbid if he suffered for an injury and won't be available for the playoffs. This pretty much is it for his very last game in his career. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Chung hits it right to Rios Novos before Orlando hits it right to Heber. Messi would then hits it right to Heber as the shots were 2-1 for Miami early on, but not much really trouble either of the goalkeeper. Most of these shots were pretty easy save from both keeper. Heber then denied Messi from point blank before he had a shot that was deflected and goes behind for a corner. Miami definitely completely took control of this game, as you usually see them do when they're playing at home, and we're now looking for the opener. Suarez tried to do so, but he missed wide from close. But in the 38th minute, Miami does get the opener, and guess who? It's the goal himself, Lionel Messi. He scored from Rodriguez to give Miami a 1-0 lead. And I say before that maybe this game doesn't really play too much in terms of storyline, in terms of decision day. I want to take that back. When it comes to the Golden Boot race, that is still a thing, and it feels like the goal himself, Messi, looks like he's going to win his Golden Boot this year because yeah, he scored a couple of goals in this one that is really key in terms of him starting to run away a little bit of the Golden Boot race heading into decision day. But yeah, that also came off a complete a bad turnover from Atlanta, and yeah, you just can't do that against Atlanta United. More times or not, you're gonna pay the price, and they pay the price as a result. Latte Lap then looks to answer, but he hits it right to Rios Novo before Messi looked for his second, but he was denied by Hebert. Hebert then denied Suarez as he pushed that one onto the post. So yeah, Jaden Hebert kind of channeling his Brad Guzan in this game. Remember last year, Brad Guzan, he was the cult hero for Atlanta in terms of the reason why they caused the greatest upset in MLS playoff history of upsetting Miami in the first round, making some big save. Because if it wasn't for Jaden Hebert in this one, this could have been easily 3 or 4-0 in favor of Inter Miami. He then denied Alfonso from close in the fourth minute of stop this time. Or actually, I should say Rios Novos were the one that denied Alfonso. I forgot. Alfonso doesn't play for Miami. Well, he still is part of Miami, but he's just currently on loan with Atlanta United right now, so he almost scored against the team that he's still currently employed. But yeah, that at halftime we head to it with Miami leading 1-0. In the second half, it would be 2-0 in favor of Miami as Jordi Alba on a night where he of course celebrated of his final regular season game, even though technically it's not his last game. He's gonna still play a couple of more games, hopefully, when the playoffs begin. Well, he scored here from Messi to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami, and yeah, just a great moment for him of what would be his final home league game in his career. Suarez would then hits it right to Heber in the 61st minute, but then just a couple of seconds later, he would score to make it 3-0. And what a goal this was from Luis Suarez. I mean, this was kind of defy the logic, the fact that he was falling off the ground when he hits this one off the volley. When you usually see players kind of falling off the ground, kind of slip hitting the volley, it would always go over the bar. But somehow, in some way, this didn't do so. So yeah, I mean that just showed you how great of a goal scored and one of the greatest goal scorer in our generation is in Luis Suarez. That even when he's falling down, and I don't think he meant to be falling down when he hits that volley, but even when he does that, it still goes into top bins like that. So yeah, that made it 3-0. Suarez then looked for another, but he missed the tap in. So yeah, talk about some irony in terms of that. So Suarez would make it an incredible goal that is defy logic, and then he would just miss probably one that you would always expect Luis Suarez put it away just 3 minutes later. That's just how this game sometimes time goes, isn't it? But like I said, it's been all Miami. It just feels like a training session for them up to this point. Latte Laugh then puts it wide because of course that happens. He's been snake bitten throughout the season. Heber then deny Pico on the Kroner in the 86th minute, but then in the 87th minute, Messi is inevitable. He would score again here from Jordi Alba. So what a night for Jordi Alba, and on his night where he's been celebrated for his final league home game, gets a goal and an assist in this one. Now there was a question whether this was offside. It was very close. Maybe it should have been called, but I mean when it's 3-0 like that, and especially when the goal himself score, I think the league is probably just gonna look the other way in that moment. But yeah, that made it 4-0 in favor of Miami. Messi did look for his hat trick in the third minute stoppage time, but he puts this one high. But yeah, in the end, very easy win for Miami in this one, as the shots in this one, 20 shots for the 10 that Atlanta has, 10 shots on goal for the 3 that Atlanta has. Both team had 4 shots off target, 5 shots was blocked for the 3 that Atlanta has, and possession wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Atlanta United has in this game. Now, let's talk about some other games that have bigger storylines that could impact in terms of how the decision day scenario is going to be. Is Orlando City versus Vancouver. So this was a game where Orlando kind of got on road heat mode in this one. This was a game where they scored the opener goal kind of completely against the run of play and was pretty much in the back foot for majority of this game, and they thought that they could get themselves a 1-0 victory against the powerhouse this season known as the Vancouver Whitecaps. Well, how many times I said before when I throw the phrase row heave mode, it doesn't usually go well for the opposition decided to, or for the team that decided to do that. And guess what? It didn't go so well for Orlando City either in this game. Muriel would hit one right to Takoka in the 6th minute. Believe it or not, Orlando actually started well. They were actually the better team to begin in this one, despite the fact that that would be the only time I'll say that, because yeah, Vancouver kind of really dominated the rest of this one. The first shot for the Whitecaps did see Galese deny Mula from close in the 10th minute before he denied Rios as the flag went up, so it wouldn't have counted even if Daniel Rios puts that one in. He then puts it wide from close in the 16th minute, and then this is definitely not a great scene to see if you're an Orlando City fan. Janssen had to be subbed off with an injury here. Not quite sure what the extent of the injury is, but that is a massive loss for this Orlando City side. I mean, this team is already heading into the playoffs, are kind of just backing in it, and it feels like they're joining Columbus as the two Eastern Conference team that I won't be surprised it might be a one and done for them in the playoffs. But now losing your best defender like this, and we'll see whether if it's a sustained amount of time. That is a huge blow of what already could be a very low possible chance that Orlando City is going to make a similar run that they did last year in the Eastern Conference Final to this year as well. But Duncan McGuire replaced him as that spot. Berhalter then hits one right to Galese in the 20th minute. Vancouver definitely got into this game. I mean, it was a bit of a slow start for them, but they definitely got into this game and were looking for the opener. However, in the 24th minute, it would be Orlando that gets the opener, as Dagger Dent for Hulson would score from McGuire and Ojeda to give Orlando City a 1-0 lead, completely against the run of play as well, because Vancouver, it looked like they were more likely to get that opening goal, but that didn't determine Vancouver. I mean, it's not a surprise that didn't determine Vancouver, because we've seen this so many times this season. Jasper Sorensen's side, they're not going to be discouraged if they go down 1-0, this like they were the better team. This is a team that has just so much character, and also so much high strength of mentality, that they face adversity before, and this is just kind of a drop in the bucket for them in terms of trying to answer. Speaking of trying to answer, Sabi tried to do so in the 35th minute, but he missed wide, and then Moriel looked like he made it 2-0 in favor of Orlando. Problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was disallowed for offside. But they do head to halftime with a 1-0 lead. And in the second half, I talk about row heat mode for Orlando City. They really turned it up to almost 10 when it comes to row heat mode, because this is when Vancouver just completely took over this game. Berhalter with miss wide from long range before Batwell hits it right to Galese. Vancouver once again was on the front foot and we're looking for the equalizer, and that would be kind of how it will be for the rest of this game. They never let this game getting back to Orlando City control. Muller did try that acrobatic effort, but he missed wide in the 71st minute. I know Thomas Muller has scored some incredible goals, but even that one, I think maybe a little too difficult in his repertoire. Ngano with that hits it right to Galese in the 76th minute. Orlando was clearly in row heat mode. You can clearly see they were just bunkering. They were just praying that they can walk away with a 1-0 win. And as I said before, when you go row heat mode, whether you're playing at home or on the road, it usually doesn't go so well. And lo and behold, in the 81st minute, it didn't go so well for Orlando because they do concede that equalizer to Vancouver as Pierre would score to tie the game up at one apiece. It was kind of a scrappy goal as well. I mean, the ball was just kind of sitting in the box. Somehow Vancouver got there before Orlando can clear it away, and just like that, it was all tied up at one apiece. Ocampo would then hits it right to Galese in the 84th minute before Gall would puts it wide from close in the 86th. Again, you just had a sense this Vancouver team, they're not just going to satisfy with withdrawal. They know that they're trying to get themselves still at the top of the Western Conference, and heading into decision day, that's another storyline to see who, of course, is going to finish first in the Western Conference. It's going to be a free away race in terms of who's going to finish that at the top seed of the Western Conference between the two other SoCal team in LAFC and San Diego. But yeah, Vancouver is trying to hold that firm. They're trying to go for the win. Galese somehow saved Berhalter shot off the line in the first minute stoppage time. This was definitely the controversial if it wasn't for what happened a little bit later, because it definitely looked like that ball crossed the line. We didn't really see too much of a replay in terms of they didn't even go to VAR for this. It's also important to note there is no goal line technology in MLS, so you got to see it in the naked eye. And again, it just kind of feel like that one did cross the line, but somehow Galese just kind of put it back across the line, so to make it look like it's like an illusion that it didn't cross the line there. But nevertheless, like I said, this would have been more controversial if it wasn't for what happened just a couple of minutes later, because Vancouver would score either way, as Thomas Muller would score from Ryan Gall to make it 2-1 in favor of Vancouver. Told you I said that this team has some great mentality. Not even a controversial call and something that might go against them is going to stop them for getting a win in this one and maintain at the top of the Western Conference. But yeah, in the end, they get the 2-1 win in this one. The shots in this one, I mean, they kind of deserve to win this one. I mean, they absolutely dominate the stats category. 24 shots compared to just 4 that Orlando has. 3 shots on goal compared to 9 that Vancouver has. 6 shots off target compared to none that Orlando has. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 5 that Vancouver has. And possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Orlando City has in this game. You would have not guessed the Vancouver Whitecaps were playing on the row in this one. I mean, it is very rare you see a road team have that much dominance against a, a, a home side in this one. But yeah, again, for Orlando, like I said, I just think that with the way that know how the extent of the Janssen injury, and also the fact that they have really struggled down the stretch, almost the complete opposite of what we saw last season, when this was usually the time when Oscar Pereira team gets hot, and really was the case for the last 2 years as well. Yeah, this team looked like they're backing into the playoffs, and them along with Columbus might be joining in that list of the most likely team to be eliminated in the first round. You cannot tell me this is an Orlando City team is in any shape or whatsoever to get themselves into a deep playoff run, just like they did last season. And I think even the most optimistic Orlando City fans probably would agree with that. Now, let's move on into the next match and now talk about games that actually has huge implication when it comes to playoff race. So coming into this game, as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you're a Colorado and San Jose Earthquakes fan, you're basically rooting for Seattle and the Galaxy. And as I even mentioned before, as a Quakes fan myself, it's kind of weird the fact that I'm rooting for the Sounders and the Galaxy, considering those are two of the more disliked team in the Quakes fan base. But nevertheless, they got the job done, both Seattle and the Galaxy. And starting off with Seattle getting the 1-0 win against RSL. And this was kind of a game where for the first 30 minutes it was dominated by Seattle, and then the last 60 minutes RSL was really dominating this game. And this is also a game where you can clearly see they missed Diego Luna and Xavier Gozo. The good news is they are going to get both of those players back in decision day because yeah, the finishing in this one, as it kind of is the case, bro, this season, the lack of finishing for RSL, especially from their attacking player, it was all to see in this game. And to be fair, they almost pull one out late in this one if it wasn't for VAR, of course, chopping their goal late. So that being said, in the first half, just 4 minutes into this game, we would see the only goal of this game. So it's not very often we see a goal just 5 minutes into this game and it would hold up for the rest of the game. But that's what happened as in the fourth minute, Paul Rothrock would score from De La Vega and Morris to make it 1-0 in favor of Seattle. It was the first shot of the game as well. And yeah, Cabral, to be fair, he almost kept this one out. This was pretty much a tap in from Rothrock, but somehow in some way Cabral almost got himself back in time to just save that one off the line, but unfortunately didn't quite do so. And Seattle takes a 1-0 lead, and then they had a chance to make it 2-0 when a penalty was given to them after VAR deemed that Vera brought down Morris in the box. So Morris won the penalty. He has a chance to make it 2-0. He is definitely usually a sure thing from the spot. But not this time, because Cabral denied Morris from the spot. Cabral has become a very underrated PK stopper. They mentioned the fact that he's actually have now saved 4 out of the last 8 penalty kick that has been faced. I mean, that is an incredible rate. You usually do not see goalkeeper have that much of a save percentage rate from the spot as well. But yeah, in this moment, Cabral once again makes a big save. And this one kept down 1-0, and it would be big too because as I said, the rest of this game it would remain 1-0 for the most part. Rothrock would then try to score his second, but he missed wide from close. Oh, I also mentioned that feels like it's also a lifeline for RSL as well because they have clearly not showed up in this game. I mean, they gotta realize that this is a chance if they win this one, they can clinch the playoffs. Now, I guess they didn't get the memo in this one because Seattle was all over RSL early on. De La Vega would then post it wide from close in the 16th minute before Kosi Oriense missed wide from close in the 17th minute. Cruz would then have RSL for a shot, but he missed way wide from long range before Reagan flashed one over from close range. We then go for a period where not much really happened, and this is kind of good news for RSL because again, that's a huge sigh of relief. The fact that they arrived out a lot of pressure that Seattle was putting, and are very fortunate that they only giving up the early goal because of the pressure that the Sounders put. Gonzalez would then puts it wide from long range before Ruiz missed high from long range, and then Pio would put heads one wide from close range. RSL started to get back into this game, and this is kind of when I said earlier that this is when the momentum really started to change in favor of RSL. But we do head to halftime with the Sounders leading 1-0. In the second half, Caliscan would hits it right to Fry before Cruz would hits the side netting after a chaotic play in the Sounders box as well. So almost like a repeat of what we saw in this game as well. But unfortunate for RSL, couldn't bury away, and they kind of picked up where they left off. They were pressing for the equalizer. Something tells me Pablo Mascherani probably remind his players that yeah, they need to get at least something out of this game. They do not want to head into the final day with some uncertainty of not clinching the playoffs. Agata would then heads it wide from close before Rothrock would puts it wide on a rare Sounders chance. The Sounders were really bunkering and they were kind of doing row heave mode themselves in this game against RSL. The difference is, of course, when you do row heat mode against Vancouver, it usually doesn't work out because Vancouver has all sorts of weapon. I think the Sounders probably got away with doing row heat mode and still able to get the 1-0 win because again, RSL they don't really have a lot of good attacking present, and that again, this is a game they clearly miss Gozo and Diego Luna in this game. If both of those guys were on the pitch, I have no doubt RSL probably would have got the equalizer in this one. Barrea would then hits it right to Fry in the 73rd minute before Rothrock looked like he scored his second goal of the game. Problem was, he was offside, and it wasn't even close as well. He was clearly offside. You feel, the Sounders, they need the second goal because RSL is just going to continue to throw the kitchen sink, and that's exactly what they did. Barrea would then hits it right to Fry in the 85th minute before Ferreira puts it wide from long range, and then the 89th minute, it looked like RSL finally got their deserved equalizer when William Agata put the ball into the back of the net. The problem was they had to go to VAR to see whether or not if there was an offside in the development of play, and there was definitely a hit that it was going to be the case because it looks like Olatunji was in an offside position, and he was, and it wasn't even close as well. As soon as I saw the replay of that, I didn't even have to wait for VAR to announce that it's been disallowed. I immediately wrote, yeah, that's not gonna count. So yeah, it's still 1-0, and you not only can hear the sigh of relief from Sounders fan when that VAR announcer is made, but somewhere in Colorado and San Jose, and including myself, yeah, I'm breathing a huge sigh of relief the fact that it's still 1-0 in favor of the Sounders, because again, Rapids and Quakes fan were rooting for Seattle to win this one hard, because it just take only one of these teams to lose, and both of those teams are still in the thick of the decision day race. Olatunji then trying to make amends, but he puts it high from close. But yeah, in the end, Seattle does hold on to win 1-0 in this one. It was not pretty whatsoever, but they'll take it. Shots in this one, 15 shots for the 14 that RSL had, 5 shots on goal for the 2 that Seattle has, 6 shots off target for the 7 that RSL had, 2 shots off block for the 3 that Seattle has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that RSL has in this game. And I'm going to mention this again on the preview when I look at the Western Conference Decision Day game. But RSL, of course, are playing against St. Louis on the road for their final game, so there's still a chance where they are going to make it to the playoffs. They can get a win on the road against St. Louis. They have been a much better road team this season than they are at home, but the thing is, St. Louis has kind of played the spoiler role, and they have been rounding in form as well. So that might not be an easier matchup. In fact, out of the 4 teams heading into the decision day, RSL does have the easiest matchup, even if it's on the road when you look at the standings, because as I mentioned, Dallas has to play against Vancouver. The Quakes play against Austin on the final day of the season, and Colorado play against LAFC at home on the final day of the season. So there's no doubt RSL has the easier matchup, but sometimes the easiest matchup doesn't always mean it's gonna be the easiest to go through. Again, ideally they would love to have this as the game to for them to move on, but again, they're gonna have to wait till the final day. They still do control their own destiny, and the same goes for Dallas as well. They still control their own destiny as well. And the good news for RSL is that they are going to get Luna and Gozo back. Those 2 players could play a huge part in terms of this team trying to sneak in to the playoffs on decision day. Now, moving on in the next match. So with RSL losing their game, for Dallas, I already mentioned and kind of maybe spoil it for everybody that whether or not if they can take advantage of clinching their position into the playoffs and don't have to rely on the final day. Well, the answer is no, because yeah, they lost this one as well to the LA Galaxy, and unlike RSL, where maybe there's a little hope that they can get it done because they're going to get some of their key players back for that game. That's kind of the opposite for FC Dallas. In fact, I feel like this game just kind of undo all the good things that Dallas have done in the last 8 games. They've been on an incredible unbeaten run to get themselves in this position, but man, it just feels like this game completely undo it, because we saw the red card that happened, a little bit controversial. We'll get to that, but also Petter Musa got a yellow card in this one. And he was already sitting on 4 yellow cards. If he was going to get a yellow card in this one, he would be suspended for the next game. And he got one. And it was a needless one too late in this one. So yeah, that is a huge loss for this Dallas team. You talk about your top goal scorer and one of your most influential playmaker missing in this one as well, and they also are going to be missing one of their fullback as well. I mean, yeah, to do that and have to go on the road to face against a Vancouver team that still have the top of the West to play for. Yeah, Dallas might be in trouble heading into the final day of the season. Now, early on, Musso with the game's first shot, but he missed wide or missed high in the 6th minute before Peck will cross one right to Kaluli in the 8th minute. Moore would then puts it high from long range. It was a lively start to this game as both of these teams were looking for the opener, but then this is where, maybe a little controversial moment where Logan Farrington was sent off in this one of violent conduct. It looks like he did stepped on the tushy part of one of the Galaxy player. I mean, we didn't really get too much of an angle with the way that the Galaxy player react. It feels like maybe Farrington did step on, and if that, of course, is the case, then yes, it is violent conduct. Of course, all red cards are going to be reviewed, and I'm pretty sure Dallas will submit an appeal in the middle of the week, and we'll see whether or not if that red card is gonna be rescinded. If that is the case, that's a huge win for Dallas, because Farrington, he is an important player, especially in the playmaking department for this Dallas team this season, and losing him for decision day, that is going to be a massive loss for this team against Vancouver. But at this point, Dallas was down to the 10 man, something you don't want to do when you have a chance to clinch the playoffs today. Musa would then hits one right to Mikovic in the 25th minute. But despite the fact that they're down to 10 men, Dallas again they done a good job in terms of staying in this game, and I'm not surprised by that because this is a Dallas team that throughout this unbeaten run they have shown that poise and also that mentality of keeping in the game when the odds are stacked against their favorite. And to be fair, they almost did it again in this one as well. But yeah, the Galaxy definitely not capitalizing with them being a man up. Peck would then hits it wide from close in the 33rd minute before Obubakov would hits it right to Mikovic. Winder would then hits it right to Kolodi, but then the 42nd minute, Winder would score. So he scored from Peck to make it 1-0 in favor of the Galaxy. Yeah, that is one that Michael Kolodi, he felt like he probably should have done better. With how good he's been, and he's virtually took that number one spot away from Martin Paz, he would definitely feel like he should have done better in terms of coming off of his lines. Got a piece to that, but just couldn't quite keep it out. But that all started because Urugide, of all players, gave the ball away at the back. I mean, with how steady Urugide has been at the back for Dallas this doing this incredible second half resurgence, he's kind of the last guy I would have thought that he would give away a bad turnover, and yeah, it was a costly one there as Galaxy takes a 1-0 lead. And then it would have been 2-0 if it wasn't for the post denying Nelson from close range. Galaxy finally realized that yeah, they're a man up. They need to start attacking more, and now they were trying to get the second goal. But we do head to halftime with the Galaxy leading 1-0. In the second half, Peck curls it over from long range, but then the 52nd minute, Dallas ties the game up because of again, this is the thing about Dallas when things are stacked against them, they somehow will show that adversity will pull through, and maybe that might be inspiration heading into that final game for Peter Quill's side. That hey, missing our two of our best player against the best team in the West, there's a chance where we could actually still get it done. But here they score here from Julio. He scored from Sarver and more to make it 1-1 in this one. Now, there was a big question whether this was offside. And from the naked eye, I mean, it definitely looked like the Galaxy have a say that this probably should have been offside, maybe should have been checked. Though, again, it's also important to note when they show that angle, the camera angle wasn't aligned with what it was on the pitch. So there's always that kind of discrepancy you got to say. But the goal does count. It was all tied up at one apiece. Winder did try to respond, but he missed one in the 55th minute before Nascimento would head it wide from close in the 65th minute. Galaxy were definitely back on the front foot. And Dallas, you kind of sense that they're starting to kind of holding on a little bit. Again, when you're down to the 10 man, the legs is definitely going to start feel heavy late in this one. And this is when the Galaxy really started to take over, trying to get that lead back. Peck would then puts it over from long range before Sarver was actually in on goal there. And talk about controversial moment. There was a lot of controversial moment in this game as well. And this is definitely another one where it looked like Garces brought down Sarver's there. And if that is the case, Garces is done for the game. I mean, it would have been 10v10 soccer because that was the definition of dog so. But referee says it was shoulder to shoulder. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like in my opinion, I mean, if you're a Galaxy fan, you would absolutely say it's shoulder to shoulder. It feels like both of these players was just kind of trying to get to the ball, but I wouldn't blame Dallas fan. Would be absolutely fuming about that. Dallas fan would argue that it clearly looked like Garces kind of shoulder barge Sarver there, and I've seen that before where that's been call a foul, and especially from an open play that I've definitely seen that being called as a deny of goal score opportunity. But the referee says it was just shoulder to shoulder, so we continue to play on with 11v10 in favor of the Galaxy. And really, as the time winds down, again the Galaxy continue to press to try to get this lead back. They were holding, or Dallas was really just kind of holding on to try to get preserve the point. Didn't work out for them because in the 87th minute, Gabriel Peck would score from Garces to give the Galaxy a 2-1 lead. So talk about just a double whammy for Dallas. A guy that they thought that should have been sent off a couple of minutes ago because of a potential dog. So he would end up on the assist chart. But yeah, that made it 2-1 in favor of the Galaxy. You can not only hear the celebration for Galaxy fans, but probably celebration from Colorado and San Jose fans and of seeing that goal went in as well. Kamungo did look to respond late, but he missed wide from the corner. But yeah, in the end, the Galaxy does hold on to win 2-1 in this one. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 9 that Dallas had, 3 shots on goal for the 5 that the Galaxy had. Both teams had 4 shots off target, 3 shots was blocked for the 2 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 32% possession compared to 68% possession the Galaxy has in this game. And like I said, this is a huge loss for Dallas, especially not just the loss itself, but also the personality that they may lose heading into decision day. And there's no doubt that they have probably the toughest opponent that they have to face out of the four teams that is fighting for those two playoff spot on decision day. And again, it will be also interesting to see whether or not the Farrington red card might be overturned heading into decision day. But yeah, for Dallas, it kind of sucks the fact that they could potentially still miss out on the playoffs because they've done so well in terms of this resurgence to get themselves in this position. But sometimes when you have one bad game, especially when this team have dig themselves in such a deep hole to try to get themselves out of it, there's really not a lot of margin for error you can have, and things could go sideways for you and for Dallas. That's kind of the case in this game. Just everything that possibly could go wrong for this team lining up to decision day. I mean, again, they still control their own destiny, just like RSL is, but like I said, the final game of the season, they have the toughest opponent against Vancouver, and possibly without their best goal scorer Musa and one of their more influential playmaker in Farrington, depending on if the red card is going to be apprehend. That's going to be a tough task for Dallas. That might just open the door for both Colorado and, like I said, somehow in some way the Quakes still in this to get that spot away from Dallas on the final day of the season. With that being said, I am now going to switch the board and look at the last game and the Sunday night soccer game that happened yesterday between LAFC and Austin. All right, so now talk about the Sunday night soccer game that we saw yesterday, and a game that I was supposed to go back on July 5th if it wasn't for the Central Texas flood that happened on the 4th of July weekend that postponed this game to today. And for those that wonder why I still had a chance to even think about attending this postponed game, the answer is no. I already sold my ticket, and even if I was going to go to it, man, thank goodness I did not go to this one because to say that this game was ugly is an understatement. I mean, this was right up there in terms of one of the worst games I've seen in terms of an MLS game ever since I started covering this league back in 2018, and it's definitely going to go down as the worst game of the season. I mean, it was just a slogfest for this game. There was barely any chances that was made in this one, and this was also kind of a game that is a classic example of what happened when you have one team that is Austin that have had their issue in terms of scoring at home. They've only scored 14 goals this season at home against an LAFC side that you can clearly see they missed Song at Bowanga in this one. To take those two dynamic duo away, even though it wasn't a huge effect, at least in the Toronto game, it was a huge effect in this one. And also, it's the fatigueness that you start to see with this team. It's never easy to play a midweek game, especially traveling for a short rest on a midweek game, especially this deep into the season, and add to the fact that you have to play in the Texas heat. Yeah, I think you have a combination of why this game turns out to be like this and that. I didn't even get a chance. I didn't even fill out the notes on the first part of the board. That just shows you how little happened in this one. But anyway, let's get into this the most boring game of this season, with Austin having most of the possession early as LAFC was happy to sit back and hit on the transition. There was no shots for the first 15 minutes in this one. In fact, the first shot of the game didn't happen until the 18th minute, and it saw Bobasi puts it high on the free kick. 30 minutes in, only one shot that was found in this one. You can clearly see that, yeah, this is a combination of lack of firepower, not only for both of these teams, but it's just in general, you can see how much it has a huge effect in terms of this game. Foldry would then heads it wide from the corner, as that was only the second shot of the game. Ibobasi then missed an absolute sitter from 7 yards out. So as much as Ibobasi did score a goal against Toronto, and it was a big moment like that, yeah, I think Quakes fans will remind their LAFC fans that can also happen. Where for every goal that Ibobasi, of course, scored, he could go a couple of games without scoring and go through a bit of a snake bit period. But yeah, I did think that the game did start to open up a little bit. Both of these teams actually legitimately tried to get the lead before halftime, and then the referee kind of blew the halftime whistle, even though there was 2 minutes of stoppage time that was shown on Apple TV. I mean, that just kind of shows you not even the referee won any part of this first half to drag along, and unsurprisingly, we head to halftime with the scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Stuvert would deny Moron from close range. That was probably the best chance of the game because both goalkeepers were pretty much a spectator up to that point. Gallagher would then hit it right to Luis. Really, for the first time, we had some real attacking moment from both of these teams, and I thought maybe this is the turning point. No, the shots were still 3-2, 7 minutes, 3 minutes in. Both of these teams just feels like they're not going to attack whatsoever in this one. Stuver would then deny Tafari from close in the 81st minute, but then in the 83rd minute, to everyone's surprise and to my surprise as well, we have a goal in this game. I mean, this game, I was already thinking that yeah, this is going to end 0-0. This is going to go down as the most boring game I've ever seen. So to everybody's surprise, and even Austin fans' surprise, they scored to make it 1-0, as Owen Wolf would give Austin a 1-0 lead. It's kind of interesting that this moment kind of all manifests because Moadu mentioned throughout this broadcast that if a goal is going to be scored in this one, it's probably going to come from the set piece. And again, he got to manifest it because it came off of a set piece as well. LAFC switched off in terms of this set pieces, and yeah, they were punished because of it as Austin take a 1-0 lead. Amaya did look to respond, but he missed one in the 89th minute. And yeah, that was pretty much it. 1-0 was the final scoreline. The fact that there was a goal in this one is an absolute miracle. Consider, look at the shots total. 5 shots compared to 3 that Austin has. That is not a misprint. That is how many shots that we saw in this one. I think the expectancy goal was something like point 0.74 combined for both of these teams. That is probably the lowest XG we have seen combined for both of these teams all season long. 2 shots on goal compared to both of these teams. 1 shot's off target for the 3 that LAFC had. No shots that was blocked in this game because, again, when you don't attack, of course there's going to be no shots that's going to be blocked. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Austin has in this one. And while this will be memorable, at least for Austin fan, knowing that they did the double against LAFC, and again, I think Austin is the only team this season to do the double. And by the way, if the playoffs started today, this would be the matchup we would see in the playoffs. I'm not quite sure this would be a matchup that I think a lot of fans would want to see, and maybe even if you're LAFC, this might not be a matchup you want to see, consider they struggle against Austin at least in these 2 meetings, and they have had their history of struggling against Austin before. Though again, LAFC fans will also remind me the fact that if Sung and Bawanga was in this game probably would have been a little different. And to me, I tell those LAFC fans that yeah, they're probably right. I mean, I think if both Sung and Bawanga was in this one, with how much influence that they have on this LAFC attack, I think it would have been definitely different than what we saw in this one, where yeah, this is the life without those two good players. And this can happen to even some of the best team, where when you just take 2 of the best player, especially 2 guys that has pretty much generate the entire attack for LAFC doing this winning streak. Yeah, this of course can happen to a team. So yeah, again, the less said about this game, the better. Austin fans will enjoy it because they of course get the double, but I'm not quite sure if they would want to face this LAFC team again. I mean, I know you have good history against them, at least this season, but as the old saying goes, it's always hard to beat a team 3 times. And in the case of the first round, they might have to beat them 2 more times as well because of the best of 3 series. And I have no doubt that if both of these teams do face against each other in the playoffs, I mean, I think Austin will once again try to make the game boring and make it tough for LAFC to pull through. But I do think that if this is going to be a matchup we'll see in the first round, especially if both Bawanga and Song is back in this team, I think LAFC might have too much overpower to pull through again. Yeah, pull through Austin resistant in this game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it when it comes to looking at all of these games to finish off pretty much all the games before we head to Decision Day 2025 in the MLS regular season. Of course, I'm going to be doing the video talk about some of the storylines in just a bit, maybe tomorrow as well. Planning to do some moving forward series, and I also got some sports hop series to edit as well. One of them is actually up on the channel right now. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.